Greetings and salutations, guys. I got my review here of Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul. Wallace and Gromit being a fascinating franchise because it is 35 years old at this point, but has a stop-motion animation project. We don't get it that often. We've only had 4 of the animated shorts that first introduced them, and this is their second feature film, and there's been sporadic other smaller appearances and advertisements and whatnot here and there. But it's pretty spread out, which makes it very special when they come back, but it also puts the onus on it to really deliver, and I am very happy to say, man, does this new one deliver. It's going to be on Netflix this week. It already had a small theatrical run in the US, and it then aired on TV in the UK on Christmas, but now it'll be rolling out most of the world on Netflix, and I just think that, this is a really delightful Wallace and Gromit adventure. I know that they're pretty much all delightful, but I will say that the last couple that we got, which is Curse of the Were-Rabbit, which was the first feature film, and A Matter of Loaf and Death, which was the latest short, and I say latest, and it was still, 15 plus years or so, I think. They were good. They were good, but I don't think that they were quite as great as those first 3 shorts that we got, mostly in the 90s. I guess 1989 was the first one, that just were so spectacular. I feel like Vengeance Most Foul, though, really does feel like classic Wallace and Gromit in all the right ways. Again, it's never been bad, but this one just especially feels like everything is working, everything is clicking. Of course, the big selling point here is the return of the notorious Feathers McGraw. This is the first time that they're really kind of having big connective plot tissue to the past by bringing back Feathers from The Wrong Trousers, the second short ever from the early 90s, which was so acclaimed. He's such a popular villain, but they've never kind of done that and returned to something like that from the past, and it could have not worked, or it could have felt cheap, or just like they're desperate to recapture something, but no, it completely works. Feathers is just an inspired comedic creation. Wallace and Gromit has always been so great in the animation and the style and bringing these characters to life, but there was something about Feathers that I thought really stuck out, and I think it's because Feathers is so simple. He has no pupils. His mouth doesn't open, and yet he is exuding menace and evil, and he's now their sort of recurring villain here in a way that is really funny and perfect because he is, after all, a penguin. But what a despicable penguin he is. And, this is a movie about him returning, but really setting into motion a plot where he reprograms the smart gnome, Norbot, that has been designed by Wallace to do his evil bidding, and chaos ensues. I really love the inventions of Wallace. They're a great through line. They visually have always popped, and I love that they kind of blend the retro look of Wallace and Gromit with not futurism, because they still look retro in design, but there's still this kind of high-tech element. And this one's interesting because even just calling him a smart gnome, that's such a modern terminology, and yet they still make sure that he looks like the world of Wallace and Gromit in design. And the way he acts, it's perfectly annoying. I mean, he's meant to be weird and annoying in a funny way, and I think completely delivers on that. There is stuff with him in his sort of sleep reset mode, as he's getting a new battery for the next day, right by trying to sleep Gromit. That is very funny because it's so creepy and off-putting. It's almost like when Megan is in the room in that film, just off in the corner. Just great stuff with him. And on one hand, I was thinking, oh, well, Feathers is kind of off camera for a lot of this movie because he's kind of pulling the strings, but we're not seeing him as much. But ultimately, I think that was smart. I really like how it works. Of course, leading towards the confrontation between good and evil, between Wallace and Gromit and Feathers McGraw. This was all clicking so well. These characters continue to just be wonderful. The dynamic between Wallace and Gromit, and of course Gromit is sort of the one who's always the long-suffering one, the smarter one, the one who has to get his hapless human out of trouble, even when his human doesn't realize he is in trouble. That continues to just be a wonderful comedic pairing. I love those characters so much. This is the best looking Wallace and Gromit project ever, I think. You do feel like the movement forward in time as far as the animation and the stop motion, and visually it all popped. It's very colorful and dynamic, I think, even more than they ever have been in the past. And because I rewatched all of Wallace and Gromit before this movie, you really do see that evolution in the animation. And their action sequences continue to be really fun and, can deliver some actual, excitement and suspense in the midst of this very lighthearted comedic lark. I really like how things escalate always in that final act. And there's big Wallace and Gromit stunts. And again, kudos to the animators here, because stop motion, it is tedious. If you've watched any behind the scenes of how they do stop motion and the incremental movement of these little puppets that they've built, it is amazing to see them come to life in a movie like this. And it really is a testament to so many people's hard work. The creator of Wallace and Gromit, Nick Park, co-directed here with Merlin Crossingham, who's been with Wallace and Gromit now for like over 20 years. And it is just shows that these characters just continue to have so much life in them. And I completely respect that they need to take a lot of time between projects. But seeing this and seeing these characters back again, and just being so happy watching them, makes me hope maybe sooner than later, and I know in Wallace and Gromit time that might mean like 7 years versus 12 years. But yeah, they are always welcome to return whenever they do. And I think that, this movie really once more just reminds you that they are something special, and, that they continue just to be a great creation of animation, but I just also think family entertainment overall. The sense of humor here is really smart and fun. Slight little innuendo and references for adults that never feel like they're crossing a line, because it's still definitely kid friendly. It just all meshes. It makes you feel good watching Wallace and Gromit, and I feel like Vengeance Most Foul is just another one of sort of top tier Wallace and Gromit. And Feathers McGraw, they shouldn't use him every time, but certainly I'd be welcome Feathers again at some point. If he wants to rear his nasty little penguin face once more, I'd welcome it. I did an interview with Nick Park and Merlin Crossingham, which you can see at a link that should be popping up about now to the side of my face. So if you want to check that out, you should. I think those guys were really fun to speak to. And if you can like and subscribe, that would be fun as well. All right, guys, take care. Thanks.